Yay! It appears that we finally have streaming up and running. Good morning, everybody. This is Road to Recovery, and I am coming to you this morning with a lot of stuff going on. I finally got my OBS up and running, but this morning I really wanted to get on and talk about the Russell Brand situation. So I've got my X account up right now, and I just wanted to show you that Russell Brand is trending over here on the right-hand side. I talk about porn addiction and porn addiction recovery. This channel is solely dedicated to helping everybody get off porn and having to work a recovery process and working the 12 steps. I've actually done videos where I've talked about Russell Brand's work, especially his addictions book, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. I actually recommend it. It's a funny take on the 12 steps, but it really goes into a lot of serious depth, and he's good. I won't even lie about it. When it comes to recovery work, Russell really spent some time in this space, and his pros are excellent. They're funny, and he takes a serious topic and gives it a humorous spin, but he gets into some pretty deep spiritual conversations about what it means to be an addict and, kind of exposing himself for some of the shit he's gone through. When I first read some of the articles about Russell and the alleged incidents in his life, I have 2 points of reference. I have the point of reference of knowing what he's going through in current day, right? Which is like he's taking on established media. So he definitely has a target on his back. In case people aren't aware, Russell Brand has gone on to YouTube, he's gone on to Rumble, he's gone on to other services, and really carved out a niche for himself. I wouldn't really call what he's doing reporting. He's just more analysis. Like he's going through his own thing and doing like analysis about how some of the systems of power that are in place right now may not be trustworthy. And you know what? He's right. And honestly, that concept could have been true for like the last 150 years. I should never trust the media. So, but the context of what was happening with him was that lots of accusations about his sexual misconduct against women came to light. And it came to light in a big way. Like stuff that had been piped down for almost 20 years is now coming out. My second point, of reference is coming from a person who sits around in a lot of S rooms and has heard lots of different stories about sex addicts going through some pretty egregious behaviors. That's the only way to really put it. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person they are here and now is a bad person, but sometimes you go through some, really horrendous decisions in your past because your decisions are all based on addiction. They're all based on me, 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 right? You're acting out. And in that process, which is why I think at 12 Steps there is an amazing program, you end up hurting lots of people. And the program teaches us to make amends. In other words, we have to get beyond our own ego structures and look at the damage we cause in our lives and be able to reconcile. Doesn't mean that people are going to like us for it, but at least be able to say, you know what, hey, look, I caused a lot of damage. Deeply sorry about that, but it's a making amends process, and part of that is overcoming your own ego and getting to the bottom of getting to the bottom of this denial mechanism that says it wasn't as bad as I think it is. Oh, no, it's always as bad as sometimes it's even worse than you think it is. And having read Russell's book, his addictions book, and having read parts of his autobiography, you know, it should be noted that he probably caused a lot more harm than he had even published. Now, I'm not saying he did any of these things, right? I am not saying that. But speaking from a space of recovery and addiction, being able to acknowledge that you did some pretty heinous shit is pretty powerful. It opens the door for not only for making amends, but just for recognizing some of the damage that addiction can cause, and how putting yourself above others, above the thoughts and current concerns of other people, can really wreak havoc. Online, I've noticed that there's been a lot of conversations about Russell. I mean, we could go, shoot. The trend just disappeared on me, didn't it? I just disappeared. Let's go back and see. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. You can go away now. Let's see if we can get it back. All right. Let's see if we can get it back. So, you'll see lots of different takes on Russell, and a lot of people are, of course, like ripping him apart. And so there's two camps that are emerging. And I'm not trying to get into the dirt here. That's not my point here, but I want to show you like the perception that people have on this whole thing. Like, you have the one camp who will automatically make the assumption that everything he said is true, or everything he said is false, and that he is a creep, right? And then you have the other camp that sees this thing as a giant conspiracy by big media, especially big media outlets inside of the UK, because they have a measured apathy towards this man, right? Both of those things can be true. The media could have a measured apathy towards this man, and Russell could have, in fact, done these things, right? Those two things can be equally true. So a lot of conspiracy people are like, oh, for 20 years, blah, 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 we didn't hear about any of this. And now it comes to light after he's already got, yeah, that's the way that works. That's exactly the way that works. So from a spirituality side, from what lessons can an addict take from all of this? I don't know if Russell did any of this. I really don't. But even if one of the accusations is true, it would be best to go out and, because Russell now has written books inside of recovery space, so lots of people are looking towards him. Even if one of the accusations is true and the other three are bullshit, you stand up and you say, hey, you know what? In this one specific instance, she was right. I was acting like a creep that day. And it's probably 100% true. And I'll even give Russell some credit here. He might have been loaded on drugs in some of these incidents. That doesn't mean it's okay, right? But it does mean that from his current day perception of events, things may have been a lot more distorted back then. So, like, when you're trying to perceive what you were like when you were loaded, you probably don't even remember half of the shit anyway. That doesn't necessarily mean that he was in the right. From a spirituality standpoint, inside of a 12-step program, we really have to be earnest and honest about what we do in our past, and confront those things immediately. If you did something wrong in your past, the gut reaction should be, hell yes, I did it. You know what? And I'm not proud of it. I know I caused lots of harm, and I'm deeply sorry about it. And when you say something like that, it takes the weight of the world off of your shoulders. And there's a lot of the weight of the world on Russell Brand's shoulders right now. And one of the things I want to bring back into context is that with a lot of addicts, they don't have to go through this pressure, right? They don't have literally the weight of the world sitting on their shoulders, making accusations in their general direction and stuff like that. But in a way, this is kind of a good ego exercise because it makes you park your ego. Are you going to sit there and defend your ego, or are you going to defend the truth? Which are two entirely separate things. Sometimes defending the truth might get you crushed in, the public arena. But you know what? If you did something bad, own it, man. Just claim that you did the bad thing and suffer the consequences. Because there's absolutely nothing in Russell Brand's life right now that is worth sacrificing all the recovery effort he's put in thus far. And that means, like, the people he's helped, writing recovery materials, all of that, bad shit is a part of what we do, man. As addicts, there's lots of shit in our past that we're not proud of. We've got to come to terms with that, and we've got to be open and honest about it. And that open and honest approach to what harms you've caused in your past and what you've done in your addiction are key to the recovery process. And that's because I just launched. I cannot see any of my chat. Why is that? I hope no one's chatting out there because I can't see you yet. Let me see if I can switch back around. I'm sorry, guys. I was just so not prepared this morning. Let's see if I can get back to it. Anyway, let's see what we have here. There I am. Oh, you know something? I may not have chat open. Well, that is my bad. And you know something? I probably can't even get it open right now because I've already launched OBS. Yeah, this whole switching to a new computer, I've got to get back into it, and I've got to see how I can make sure that chat automatically gets opened up at the time that I launch the stream. Oh well. I'll get it right next time. What else are we going to talk about this morning? Crap that comes up on my X feed, man. The crap that comes up on my X feed, jeez. Well, let's see what we have. That's why I try to avoid the For You, because the recommendations, it's just terrible. I talked about Halt last week. That's pretty important. I left it up there as a reminder. And listen, if you're not obeying Halt, that's the type of thing that'll catch up to you right away. And it's basic, man. There's no reason why anybody shouldn't become familiar with this right away. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If you're going through any of those things, you're going to be more prone to acting out. So stay on top of it. Be mindful of when you're going through these things. There's my comment about Russell. Here, I'll just show you this, the feedback I got back from a commenter. And if they're false, just because someone in recovery has absolutely zero to do with the seriousness of these of these accusations, true or false. I'm not one to say that an accusation is true or false. I'm not trying to analyze the details. And I get it, man. Sometimes you can have an accuser out there who's got an agenda and, is bending the truth, or sometimes just flat out lying in order to gain popularity or gain money out of a situation. But when I see the accusations starting to pile up, one of two takes you can have from that is that they're all lying, or there is some truth to those accusations. And given Russell's background, I'm not saying that everything's 100% accurate, but you know what? That's all arising from the sex addict he was, which he freely admits. Now, whether some of those details were manipulated, absolutely. I completely agree that some of that stuff could have been manipulated, but let's not take an accuser and say that she's wrong until we hear more. And this guy said, what if he didn't do it? I was raped at 16 from Bran. I don't feel comfortable telling a friend, parent, police, no one. But the Daily Mail, yes. And you know what? I really do feel that, because a lot of those British tabloids are fucking horrendous. They have, they've got horrible ethics as they deal with anybody out in public space. They very rarely use what I would consider to be good reporting tactics. Getting three sources for any type of information that's being published. And yet here we are. So I want to look at the Daily Mail and agree with this guy a little bit, but I have also got to obey the fact that what if this woman is in fact telling the truth? So My reply was, and yet it could actually all be true, Russell, and that woman know for certain. It could all weaponize bullshit, not discounting for either. If it turns out to be straight up fabrication, then Russell gets to set his lawyers loose, which is true. Absolutely true. Unfortunately, that whole thing could wreck Russell in the process. And you know what? That's why we have this spiritual program. That's why we have the 12 steps. And that's why I'm part of a 12-step program, is that if all of my life gets absolutely destroyed and, like, chaos abounds, and, you know, I lose my house, lose my dog, lose my family, and it's just me out on the streets, I will always have the here and the now, and the knowledge that I'm being with my truthful with myself, and the knowledge that I confronted things honestly, and be able to sleep better for it, than live a lie. You know, I think there's nothing worse than living that lie, because that's how addictions are all based on lies. You got to get out of the mindset that everything's okay, nothing's wrong, when it's an actual shitstorm and you're covering things up. That's a far worse state to be in, because something, I've seen it time and time and time again, that if you live a life of truth and honesty and virtue, and you keep working hard on yourself, that over that period of time, good things will eventually unfold for you. But you got to earn it, man. You've got to earn it. And the only way you earn that is by getting up, brushing the dust off, and acknowledging the shit you did, and then moving ahead. And sometimes it takes a while. And there's no reason Russell's still a young man. He can still push his way through this and make a living for himself. He's done a really good job so far, and he could still push his way out of this. But if he did any of those things, even a fraction of the things that he's being accused of, man, go to public and just tell the world, yeah, you know what? I had a pretty strenuous past, and that was a result of a lot of different things. I was an addict. I was a sex addict, and you know, I put those women through some horrible shit. And then if he didn't do any of that, and he's justified in defending himself. If he didn't do any of it, if he can honestly look into the camera and say, you know what? I knew all these women, but all of this shit is complete and absolute bullshit, right? Then he can look straight into the camera and say, I'm going after the Daily Mail, and I'm sending my lawyers, because they didn't come and talk to me about it. They did not attempt to, rectify any of the evidence that was being presented. And I consider this a hit campaign, so I'm going to take my lawyers and go after them for libel. And he's 100% justified in doing that. Anywho, well, I hope that the message here isn't about Russell Brand. The message here is about honesty and recovery, and being true to yourself, and acknowledging the harms that you've caused both to yourself and to other people. I think that's what the real message is about the Russell Brand situation, and I hope that's what you're getting out of it too. If anything else today, if you can just be serious about the stuff that you've done in your personal life, and be honest. And within inside of the 12 steps, we have the 7th and 8th step that's out there, which give really good framework. It gives a really good framework for how you make amends, and when you shouldn't make amends. Sometimes you want to make amends and you can't. And that's a struggle in and of itself, that involves talking to sometimes sponsors, sometimes the therapist. Sometimes you have to acknowledge that even in the amends making process, you're not going to come out the good guy. As a matter of fact, you might come out looking like the bad guy, probably because you were, right? Maybe you were the bad guy in your past, and you have to be okay with that, man. You have to be okay with that. It doesn't mean you're a bad person now. It just means that in your past you did heinous shit. You know what? You got to own it. You got to live up to it. We've all got to live up to our potential, and that means sometimes standing on the shit that we created for ourselves. All right, that's it for me. Take care. Have a good day.